Welcome to The Explainer. You know, buying a home, it's a huge deal, right? Maybe one of the biggest financial decisions you'll ever make, but it doesn't have to be scary. Today, we're going to break it all down into a simple, clear roadmap just for you.
So, you're thinking about buying a house. It's super exciting, but let's be real, it can also feel a little overwhelming. There's so much to think about, from saving up that down payment to signing what feels like a mountain of paperwork.
But here's the good news. Even though every house is unique, the actual process of buying one is pretty much the same for everyone. And today, we're going to turn that process into your personal roadmap. We've broken this whole journey down into 4 simple phases. We'll start with the prep work, then move on to the hunt, making your move, and finally, the home stretch, getting those keys in your hand.
All right, let's dive into phase 1, the prep work. Seriously, this part is the foundation for everything else. Before you even think about looking at houses online, you've got to get your financial ducks in a row.
And it all starts with your credit score. Lenders look at this number to figure out how risky it is to loan you a big chunk of money. Now you'll see different loan types have different minimums, like 580 for an FHA or 620 for a conventional loan. But here's the real secret. A higher score gets you a lower interest rate. And trust me, even a tiny drop in that rate can literally save you tens of thousands of dollars over the years. It's a huge deal.
Okay, so you might see these 2 different names for credit scores, FICO and Vantage. Here's the simple breakdown. Lenders almost always use your FICO score. The Vantage score, that's probably the one you see on your credit card app or those free websites. They're calculated a little differently, but you know what? That Vantage score is still a fantastic way to check in and see how your credit health is doing.
All right, next up, getting pre-approved for a mortgage. This is not just some back-of-the-napkin calculation. A lender actually digs into your income, your savings, your debts, and gives you an official letter saying, yep, you can borrow this much. This letter is your golden ticket, really. It shows sellers that you're not just window shopping. You're a serious, ready-to-go buyer. Okay, let's talk about something that catches a lot of first-time buyers by surprise: closing costs. These are completely separate from your down payment. Think of them as a collection of fees you pay to actually finalize the deal. You know, for stuff like the home appraisal, the title search, all that behind-the-scenes work.
So how much are we talking? Well, a good rule of thumb is to plan for about 2 to 5% of the home's purchase price. Let's put that into perspective. On a $300,000 house, that's anywhere from $6,000 to $15,000 extra. So you definitely need to have that cash ready to go.
Okay, your finances are prepped, and you've got your pre-approval letter in hand. Now for the fun part. Welcome to Phase 2, the hunt. And the first step here is to assemble your A-team. And your most important team member, without a doubt, is a great real estate agent. Seriously, these folks are your guide. They know the market inside and out, they'll negotiate for you, and they handle all the complicated paperwork. There's a reason the vast majority of buyers, we're talking 85% according to Zillow, work with an agent. They're absolutely essential. But how do you find the right one? Well, you should treat it like you're hiring someone for a super important job. Because you are. Don't be afraid to ask a ton of questions. How well do they know the neighborhoods you like? How do they like to communicate? What's their game plan if you end up in a bidding war? Find someone you click with. All right, so you're out there looking. How do you find a good deal, especially when the market is hot? Here are a couple of pro tips. Keep an eye out for homes that have been for sale for more than 30 days. Why? Because those sellers might be getting antsy and more willing to negotiate. And don't be scared of a house that needs a little love. We're talking cosmetic stuff. A fresh coat of paint or new floors can go a long way. That sweat equity is real, and it can save you a ton of money.
Okay, you've been looking, you've seen a bunch of places, and then it happens. You find the one. Now comes the moment of truth. It's time to make an offer.
Now, an offer isn't just about the price you're willing to pay. It also includes these super important conditions called contingencies. Honestly, you can think of them as your safety net or your escape hatches. The big 3 are for financing, the appraisal, and the home inspection. They basically protect you and your deposit if something goes wrong. And listen up, because this is a huge takeaway. The highest offer doesn't always win. I'll say that again. The highest offer doesn't always win. Sometimes, what a seller really wants is a quick, easy close. Or maybe they need to stay in the house for an extra month after selling. Being flexible on things like the move-out date can be way more valuable to them than a few extra bucks.
With your offer, you're also going to put down something called earnest money. Don't let the name scare you. It's just a deposit that says, hey, I'm serious about buying your house. It doesn't go to the seller right away. It gets held by a neutral company until the deal is done.
And just to be super clear, This is not an extra fee. That earnest money you put down, it just gets applied directly to your down payment or your closing costs when you finally buy the house. Think of it as prepaying a part of what you already owe.
So, what happens if your offer gets rejected? First of all, do not get discouraged. This is so normal. In fact, Zillow found that almost 60% of buyers have to make more than one offer before they finally get a yes. So, hang in there. Persistence really is the name of the game.
But then, you get the call. Your offer was accepted. Congratulations! You are now in what's called escrow, which is just a fancy way of saying you're in the home stretch. This is that final waiting period, usually about a month or so, before the house is officially yours.
So what happens during this time? Well, a lot. You've got the home inspection, where you bring in a pro to make sure there are no scary surprises. The bank will order an appraisal to double-check the home's value. And all your loan paperwork goes through one final, detailed review. Again, these are your last big safety checks. The inspection is all about the physical condition of the house. The appraisal is about the financial value, making sure that you and your lender aren't overpaying. Both are absolutely crucial. And then comes the big day, closing day. You'll go sign what feels like a million pieces of paper, you'll transfer the money, and that's it. Once all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, they hand you the keys. And just like that, the house is yours. You're a homeowner.
So there you have it, the whole roadmap, from getting your finances ready all the way to that final closing day. Look, it's a big journey, for sure, but when you break it down into these simple steps, it becomes totally manageable. You've got the map, so the only question left is, what will your dream home be?